Welcome to Keep What You Earn, your judgment and jargon-free zone for entrepreneurs of all levels. Get ready to learn how to scale your business, save money in taxes, and create a business that grows your wealth. If it feels like the financial side of business is like eating your vegetables, well, then think of this podcast as the ranch dressing to make the process a little more enjoyable. My name is Shannon Weinstein. I'm a CPA and business owner on a mission to simplify money and empower others through knowledge. I hope this episode inspires you to take action, but remember that the information we share is for educational purposes only and is not individual tax advice. Now that we got that out of the way, let's start the show. One of the areas that changes significantly when you go from employee to entrepreneur is how you handle your health insurance and paying for the premiums. So this is a really big topic when people switch from employee to entrepreneur because you end up having to pay these premiums on your own. You end up potentially paying a little bit more, but you have to be aware that there is an additional deduction available to you for self-employed health insurance premiums, okay? So as employees, we sort of set it and forget it because we have the payments all handled. As business owners, though, here's what you got to keep in mind. When you buy health insurance on the open market, you have premiums that you pay each month. A premium is basically how much you pay into the insurance, and a claim is when you want to take money out of the insurance to pay for something. Okay. So when you put the premiums in, they have a tax benefit to you in the form of a deduction. Now, here's how you want to handle your premiums depending on what type of business you run. Okay. So I'm just going to go straight to the point on this, and this is how you're going to do it. Now, I recommend that you write this down based on what type of business you have and work with your professional to make sure this is done correctly. Okay. I don't expect you to be able to notice if it's done correctly or not by looking at a tax return alone, but when you have those discussions with your preparer, keep in mind, they're waiting for you to ask questions on your tax return. So one of the best things you can do is just ask the question, hey, I just want to make sure my self-employed health insurance was handled properly. Can you show me how that is reflected and just confirm it's done the right way? That is totally fine. So let's start with sole proprietor or single member LLC. Okay. If you've been listening to the show, I've explained that sole proprietors and single member LLCs, you don't file a separate business tax return. Okay. You're going to file your business income and expenses on what's called a Schedule C as in Charlie, Schedule C. And that's going to be 1 page or 2 pages of your overall tax return. Okay. So if you fall in this category, you just claim those premiums on your personal tax return on Schedule 1. Okay. Simple. This is purely a personal deduction and does not get paid by the business. Okay. That is a personal expense, and make sure that you share the number that you paid with your tax pro, because if your business does not pay this expense, then it's not going to show up in your QuickBooks. It's not going to show up in your P&L. So it can easily go missing if your pro is not asking for this. Okay. So make sure you share that with them and that you keep track of the premiums you're spending on health insurance. Okay. Now, I should pause there and say, if you are covered though under an employer plan, let's say you still have a 9-to-5 or your spouse has a 9-to-5 and you're covered, okay, then the premiums you're paying are not necessarily self-employed health insurance premiums. They are based on an employee paying into for benefits. So just keep that in mind that we're talking about self-employed health insurance here once you become an entrepreneur or once you become a small business owner full-time. Now, here's the tricky one. And I didn't make this up. This is where it's going to get tricky when you own a corporation. But just know that, like, I promise it makes sense to us, but it may not make sense to you. It's a multi-step process. Okay, so if you operate an S corporation or a C corporation, now I promise I didn't make this up. It's a multi-step process and it is a little bit more confusing. Okay, so a couple ways you can handle this. Number one is, again, S corporation or C corporation, you are an employee of your business, by the way, and you file a separate business tax return. In this case, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to you're going to want to pay the premiums out of the business. Number one, the business bank account is going to pay for these. Or if you must pay personally, like if you're used to paying personally and you want to leave it on your personal credit card or whatever, or your personal bank account, then have the business reimburse you through an accountable plan. Now, I've covered an accountable plan in a prior episode, and it's basically a reimbursement system to allow you to pay for expenses personally and get them reimbursed by your business when that happens. Now, the premiums need to be included as part of the gross wages on your W-2 from that company. What that means is you're going to have to tell your payroll provider that you need to record self-employed health insurance premiums paid by the business. Now, they should know what to do with that. Most payroll companies, including Gusto, which is the payroll provider we use and we use for our clients, Gusto will know what that means. And in fact, Gusto allows you to go in really easily and you can adjust out how much you paid in insurance pretty simply in their platform. So you want to go into your payroll provider and you want to edit and say, hey, this is how much I paid in self-employed health insurance premiums. Now, it could involve making an adjustment toward year end or periodically throughout the year. Just make sure it gets added into your wages because this counts towards your reasonable officer compensation. So if you remember from my prior episodes, we talk about officer compensation in an S corporation. Like I used to use the analogy of carrots and cookies, right? The IRS wants you to eat your vegetables. They want you to pay yourself a salary. They want a higher salary for tax purposes, but you want to take distributions when you're an S corp or a C corp owner. Excuse me, S corp owner, not C corp. An S corp owner, you want to take distributions, but the IRS wants you to take salary. Okay, so keep this in mind that you want to pay less in salary. Well, one way to pay yourself a little bit less in salary technically is to have this health insurance benefit part of your compensation. So that's going to help you kind of make good with the IRS, but you're still going to get a tax benefit from it. So I would say that you definitely don't want to skip this. You want to include it in your W-2 each year. Now, your total box 1 and box 14 on your W-2 should reflect this health insurance premium total. Okay. Now, why does it matter how we do this? Okay. So what you're going to do is if you file your business tax return, you're going to file it with this as part of your wages or part of your benefit expense. And what's going to happen is you're going to claim it on your W-2. You're going to claim it as income. All right. So you're going to claim all of this as income. But it's like, wait, Shannon, I thought that I was getting a deduction. You are. So then the next step is on Schedule 1. Remember we talked about that with the Schedule C? Schedule 1, you're going to put in how much you paid in premiums. And then you're going to get the deduction. So it's just an extra step. If you have a corporation, it's just one extra step to get that number on your W-2 so you can claim it personally. Versus if you're self-employed and you file a Schedule C, you're just going to put it straight on Schedule 1. At the end of the day, you should get a deduction for the amount that you paid in premiums. And that can really add up because if you think about it, the health insurance premiums are getting to a couple thousand a month for some self-employed business owners, right? And it's really difficult to find a really competitive rate for that. So if you think about, if I'm spending $1,000 a month, that's $12,000 a year, and that's potentially hundreds of dollars, if not thousands, saved in taxes. So you want to make sure that you're taking advantage of this and that your pro is completely understanding how much you've paid and you're keeping good track of it. Okay. So again, just to recap real quick, Schedule C, put it on Schedule 1. And Schedule C is your single member LLCs and your sole proprietors. If you run a corporation, you're going to pay yourself a salary through W-2, and you're going to include on that salary, you're not going to pay yourself extra, but you're going to tell your payroll company to add those premiums to your total wages for the end of the year. And then you'll be able to report that correctly for the IRS. So that's the synopsis of how to report it properly when you're paying self-employed health insurance. Just keep in mind, keep track of this stuff because it may not be flowing through your QuickBooks if you're not paying for it out of the business. So make sure that you're keeping good records for tax time and talking to your pro to keep them informed. Hey, small business owners, are you tired of juggling payroll, benefits, and HR tasks? If so, I want to introduce you to our payroll provider of choice, Gusto, the #1 rated HR and payroll platform trusted by thousands of businesses just like yours. With Gusto, you can streamline payroll, manage benefits, and more, all in one easy-to-use platform. But here's the kicker. When you sign up and run your first payroll through our special link below in the show notes, you'll score a sweet deal, a $100 Visa gift card. That's right. Just $100 for clicking the link below and get started to claim your reward. Don't let payroll headaches hold you back from building your team and growing your business. Join the Gusto family today and take the first step towards simplifying your HR processes while snagging a bonus along the way. Click the link in the show notes now to learn more and set up your payroll. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a rating and review on your podcast platform. This small action goes a long way for podcasters to get our message heard by more business owners just like you. Be sure to check out the show notes for links to information about our guests and ways to get in touch with me. We'll see you on the next episode.